Okay, aloha everybody. Welcome to the third of the four Creative Lab Hawaii music business webinars in this series. My name is Charles Brotman. I'm a composer producer here on the Big Island, and I've been director of the Creative Lab Music Immersive and president of Hawaii Songwriting Festival. I want to start by taking a moment to thank Creative Industries Division of the state of Hawaii for being so supportive of our music community over these years, supporting the music, Creative Lab Music Immersive and the Hawaii Songwriting Festival. Please keep in touch with the Creative Lab website for information on upcoming events. And if you're not on the Hawaii Songwriting Festival mailing list, please visit the website and get signed up on the mailing list. Today's panel is insider tips on the songwriting business success. So today we have a panel of writers who are all in various stages of their careers and various stages of their success. And today our goal is to find out what they're doing that's working, and hopefully we'll all be able to pick up some tips to use. So I'm going to start by giving you a little capsule about each person so that you kind of know who's here and what they're all about. Starting with Melanie Braun. Melanie is a multi-genre singer, songwriter, and music advocate from the island of Hawaii. She's a board member for the Hawaii Songwriting Festival and a member of the Recording Academy. She's had various sync placements on TV, and her music is heard on radio in Hawaii and streaming beyond. She's currently working on an artist project with a producer on the mainland. So Melanie, please say aloha.
Aloha.
Okay. Next up is Kimie Miner. Kimie is a Grammy-nominated producer, singer-songwriter, and recording artist. She's the president and CEO of Haku Collective, a full-service multimedia talent production and management group that she founded in Honolulu. Kimie also serves on the board of governors for the Hawaii Academy of Recording Arts and the Recording Academy's Pacific Northwest chapter. Please say hi, Kimie.
Aloha.
All right, next is Mitani Paris. She's the director of A&R at Artist Max, a Los Angeles-based artist development and education enterprise founded by Grammy-winning producer Ken Calais, and that is the Ken Calais of Fleetwood Mac and Colby Calais. She's an award-winning songwriter whose work has been featured in TV, films, and commercials, and has been signed with multiple publishers, libraries, and licensing agencies. So Mitani, please say aloha. Oh, you're muted. Okay, well, there's a wave. That's okay. Next up is Chaz Umamoto. Chaz is a multiple Hoku award-winning songwriter, producer, and multi-instrumentalist. Most know him for his later work with the Streetlight Cadence, having moved with them to LA. After leaving the band and a 5-year stint in Los Angeles, Chaz started his own music production company, The Brews, with Josh Stevens here in Hawaii. The Brews are currently signed to Portland-based music agency Marmoset, and he works full-time as a producer-songwriter. Chaz, please say aloha.
Aloha.
Nicely done. Last but not least is Richard Harris. Richard is a #1 selling songwriter, producer, and mentor. Transplanted from the UK over a decade ago to Los Angeles, Richard quickly signed a staff writing publishing deal with Peer Music, and landing multiple major song cuts all around the world, resulting in several Billboard #1s, top 10 singles, and platinum and gold records. Richard has had hundreds of TV, film, and ad song placements, including Empire, Nashville, Pretty Little Liars, NFL, HBO, AT&T, and many more. Richard is also a songwriting mentor and recently launched a new company, Songwriter Camps, which we'll be hearing about later on because I'm going to ask him about it. So anyway, let's...
Aloha, by the way.
Oh, yes, please say hi, Richard. Thank you. All right, I'm going to start with a kind of an interesting question. Most of us that get into this business end up having maybe somebody that lends us a hand that gets us in, or some kind of event, or person, a moment, an event that lets you know that gives you the confidence to know that you can do this in this business. So I'm going to ask each one of you if there is a person or an event or a moment that gave you the confidence to know that you could do this. Malin, why don't we start with you? I'll just go down the order here again.
Yeah, the Hawaii Songwriting Festival. When it was first the Kauai Music Festival, that was the point in my life where I knew that I could do the music thing, the music business, and I was introduced to that by you, right? Remember?
Yeah, I do remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So it was just going to that opened the doors for me.
That's awesome. Nita, how about you?
Well, I agree with Malin. I mean, the Hawaii Songwriting Festival has opened so many doors for me, so I'm always grateful for that. Before I met you, though, I was in the corporate world 11 years ago, and I decided to leave and pursue creative writing and songwriting. And the first thing I did was I took a class at UCLA. It was called Writing Lyrics That Succeed and Endure with Marty Panzer, who's a brilliant lyricist who wrote a lot of the Barry Manilow songs, Kenny Rogers. Anyway, so he was my first songwriting mentor. And it was because of that class that I found the confidence. And I kind of just discovered that I'd been a songwriter my whole life. And his feedback and his encouragement really gave me the motivation to keep going. And so I think I owe a lot to him, in addition to the people like you that I've met along the way that I'm super grateful for.
Awesome. Awesome. And Chaz, what about you?
Much like Nita, I had a very different background. I was going to the University of Hawaii, and I was studying microbiology. I wanted to be a medical researcher, but my full-time job while in college was human resource agent at the gas company. I had a professor in the English department who really believed in my writing, I guess, and he would tell me, as well as in front of the class every day, Chaz, you should be a songwriter. And I didn't think that was a job. I didn't think that was something people did. And he just would say that every time I saw him. And he connected me to Uncle Ken Makuakane, who's on this Zoom call right now. He came to our class, and Ken told me about the Kauai Music Festival. I won a little contest in that class. And so I was sent to the Kauai Music Festival in 2011, where I met wonderful people like you guys who convinced me, seeing it in person, like, wow, people write music for a living. This is a job. And so I quit my job. And I owe it all to that professor, Stephen Goldsberry, as well as I had a music business mentor from a studio I would record at. His name was Brett Ortone. He's Imua Garza's former business partner.
Nice. Wow. And Kibie, how about you?
Yeah, I definitely align with Chaz in I didn't know songwriting was a career, but I definitely knew singing was, and that was my dream since I could speak singing and things. But I didn't realize that I was truly a fan of songwriting, and that I was songwriting since I was really little, really little, but I didn't know that I was songwriting. And it wasn't until I set up my own little garage band. I was living in China, and I set it up and I started producing my own music and doing composing and songwriting. And that was singing definitely brought me a lot of joy. And I had a lot of great mentors as an artist. Fiji was one of my biggest mentors, but he was also a songwriter. And actually, Charles, you were also a very big mentor of mine when I was coming into this business, just learning about the business side. So I think it was going to the festivals and having these mentors that put so much value in the song and the songwriting that really inspired me to continue writing songs and not just to sing. And yeah, that's why I'm here today, I think, because I like songwriting a lot.
Yeah.
Awesome. And Richard, how about you?
Well, my journey's a little bit different. I was kind of born into the business, really. My dad's a musician. My grandfather was a professional musician. And so I was kind of surrounded by the business
like as young as I can remember, to be honest with you. My dad was always in the recording studio, doing TV shows, and so I kind of, that was my start. And I just could, I honestly, I thought all musicians were the coolest people in the world. I think that I just wanted to be part of the gang. I think really just hanging around with that group of people, being a young kid when I was really too old enough to go to the studio and hang out while my dad was working and not cause trouble. And I used to just sit in there with these amazing engineers and musicians, and it just was like, I have to do something to do with this. I actually didn't really want to be just the player guy. I wanted to write music from a very early age. It's very similar to Kimmy A. I just was drawn to songwriting from a very, very early age. And I spent all my time learning sheet music and learning chords, because was the foundation of writing songs. And then I think one of the big changes for me is I wrote a song once that my dad had already moved to the States at this point, played to somebody who absolutely loved it, and they invited me over to record these songs at this amazing studio in LA. And I thought, okay, well, apparently I can do this, and I can do it to a standard that people who are professionals think is, worthy of their time and their effort. So that kind of set the ball rolling, and I've been in and out of lots of different jobs. I mean, I was in sales and marketing for way too long, but I was a good talker, so it just seemed a natural thing to do. And but always did music. Always had a studio in my house, and was a big technology geek. I think because I think I was infected by the tubes in the studios. That just the smell, I wanted to get that smell in my lungs all the time. So I just got completely geeked out. So that's kind of my journey. And similar to everybody else, though, you need to be reaffirmed, apart from daily as musicians and creatives, because we're just dangerously, weak, not weak, that's not the wrong word, sensitive. And we need to be told every day that we've got something to offer. And I think that's why Hawaii Songwriter Festival and its ilk really are just amazing, to go to, because you just kind of get re-energized and you get another kick, and then you continue on in the journey. So it's not a one and done kind of thing. I think it's one thing kicks you off, but then you need other things to kind of continue and motivate you as you go along.
Well, that kind of leads into the next topic that I wanted to get into, which is maybe the most important thing we're going to talk about today, and that has to do with networking, because I think we all know that nobody really does this by themselves in this business, and having like-minded people, people that you like, that are creative, that you're on the same page with, that you can work with, is really kind of the whole thing, it seems like. So I want to ask each of you some questions about networking and what how you've developed your network. So Malin, let's start with you. When I first met you, you had a network of people involved with singing, doing live performance, but you didn't have any network with songwriting, and now you have a pretty good network. So what happened? How have you managed to develop that? You're working with a producer on the mainland now. You've got colleagues on the mainland, Los Angeles, and here in Hawaii. What happened?
I went to the festival. I did. I went to the songwriting festival and met other like-minded musical beings that I love so much, and just kind of grew the network from there, made friends, and then from the Hawaii Songwriting Festival, I ventured off into like going to different festivals and conferences like Ascap Music Expo. I went to the Durango one with Me to Me. And just doing that and just meeting people and just, sharing that common bond that we have with music and wanting to create music. That's what it is.
Yeah.
For me, at least.
Great. Kimie, you have a pretty large network here in Hawaii. And you've also been able to branch out with co-writers outside of Hawaii. Can you talk about how you've done that, and maybe share with us a little bit about the network that you've created with Haku Collective?
Yeah, I think it's natural for us in Hawaii. You know, we're just, it's a small network of creators, so we naturally are like magnets, and we come together whatever phase we're in our careers. And I mean, I have connected personally with everyone on this Zoom right here on this panel, and that was just, I think, the universe. I believe the universe rises up to meet us wherever we are. So I really am a proponent of visualization and the power of words and all those things. So definitely I always have good vibes, try to give out good vibes so that I can get that back. But yeah, it is about opportunity as well. So I definitely go to all the festivals. I'm sort of geeky, so I like to research, and like if I hear a song I like, I always see who wrote the song. And I got to write with Richard too on one of my albums, and that was a lot of fun. Navigator, I love that song so much. I still perform it. So yeah, I think it's because I'm a fan first. So even though I'm an artist and a musician, I'm a fan. I'm a music fan. So I'm always loving other artists and where they're at, and I want to collaborate with them from a place of just being a fan of what they're doing. And then of course COVID hit, crazy times, we couldn't go to all the festivals and things, and just so happens Chaz and I are neighbors, and we live in the same building. That was the universe. So we've been setting up co-writes, but I've done stuff on Zoom, and then, you know, it's kind of it is really a thing of like momentum. And so it's like, okay, I went to this festival, I met this guy, and then I introduced to this guy, and then I set up a writing session, and then the ball gets moving, and then the snowball gets bigger. And you know, like I think it's so funny because Nittany and I wrote songs like a while ago, and then I hear she wrote a song with someone else that I'm now working with, it's just really awesome and cool to see how it is a lot to do with just kind of like you own your destiny. And it's really about like you putting in the work, you putting yourself in the right positions, and having a good attitude about it, and being open also. Like maybe you thought you were going to do it like this, but actually it's going to go like this, and rolling with it, and then allowing for something great to happen. And that's sort of what has happened for me. Haku Collective is we're by artists for artists, and I just saw a lot of gaps here in Hawaii, but a lot of us coming together anyways, right, and being strong together. And so it was just a way for us to network, but more like just connect and weave together, collaborate in whichever way makes sense, and to make our bond stronger, and to make our value stronger and bigger and better here, especially here in Hawaii, for the rest of the world.
Awesome. I actually didn't ask you to be on the panel here because I knew that you'd co-written with everybody on the panel, but that's Nita, let me ask you, I think if there was a networking championship, you would win it, because you are probably the most networked person I know. But how do you conceive of networking? I mean, maybe you're just such a sociable person that you just, you know, you're meeting people all the time, and you're in the music business, so your network is growing all the time. But how do you think of it? What is it to you? Do you think of it as trying to expand your network, or are you just working with a bunch of people that are creative and you're having fun?
Yes, I think that's more it. For me, it's more about just building a community of people that support each other. I know the word networking sometimes has a negative connotation, but it's really not. It's really just about building a family of people that you can trust and that trust you. And it's just really about just making a lot of friends to me.
Yeah.
A lot of times I'll put more emphasis on building that friendship with people that I meet in the industry than the business. And sometimes I don't even know things I should know, such as what their credits are, because I'm just more focused on meeting the person. But I found that through all of these different conferences, including the Hawaii Festival, that you meet people there. You're going to meet hundreds of people there, and each one of them is a potential collaborator or future business partner. You know, I met Ken Calais at the West Coast Songwriting Festival, who's my partner now. I met all of you at the festival in Hawaii, and I've had the pleasure of writing with all of you. I mean, so I think that it's one of the most important things you can do as an artist or a writer is to build your community. And that's why, for me, it's always been about that. From the very first start, when I first started writing songs, I started working on obviously building my craft, but started building a community right away. I could see right away that was the most important thing. And yeah.
Yeah.
I can go into details about how I did that, but it's kind of long and probably boring story.
Well, you do a great job at it. And you've introduced, I know you've introduced me to a lot of people in the business, and I imagine you have also introduced a lot of other people. So thanks for what you do. Let's see, Richard, prior to starting songwriter camps, you moved to LA from the UK, and you said you had a connection with your through your dad. But how you didn't? Other than that, you didn't have a network in Los Angeles, did you?
No, not at all. I mean, I had family here, and I was fortunate that my dad had remarried, so I had sisters and brothers from my dad's second and third marriage, and my sister Katie. My dad was doing kind of arranging and producing, but kind of in a certain part of the business and doing movies and stuff like that and TV shows. So which really wasn't where I was kind of situated. Certainly film and TV thing wasn't kind of a thing when I first got to LA. It just wasn't a thing. And my sister and her now husband kind of let me sleep in their back room for a while till I got myself situated. And they were working on a show called Star Search. And that was, I don't know if anybody knows that show, but it was like, the precursor for Idol and all that stuff. And there was a band that basically performed all the songs that they used on the show, but we weren't live. It was all pre-recorded. So I was lucky enough to kind of get started doing that. And that kind of just was a payday really for me. And then I went through some horrific moments. I worked at Guitar Center for about 6 months, which I think almost pulled my soul out. It was like being eaten by a Death Eater from Harry Potter. It was just like sucking my soul out of my face. And it's a wonderful place, and the people that work there are fabulous, but it just did my head in. And so no disrespect to anybody who works there, but for me, it was just like, oh God. And I literally lived 2 feet away from the place. So I literally fell out of bed and went to work. And so no, I literally started from the ground up because I built like 2 studios in London. I was in a band in the UK. We toured around Europe, had been to the States to do showcases and stuff like that. But there was nothing really that I knew to do except I heard of Taxi. And Taxi was my first port of call. Was like, okay, I'll join Taxi, and I knew about the big, Taxi Road Rally, and so that was basically it. I started with Taxi, and I went to the Road Rally. I met 2 amazing people there, and that just snowballed into something else. And that then I got to meet Jim at Durango because of Taxi, and I then went to Durango, and then I got spotted by an A&R person, and I signed my publishing deal because of it. So it wasn't that short, trust me. It was a long, drawn-out, painful experience, and doing crappy jobs. I mean, I was in a function band and playing some really crappy places around LA and Orange County, and but I did whatever I thought I needed to do. But getting back to the networking thing, that's everything. I mean, it really is everything. Apart from personal survival during those moments when you are literally at your lowest ebb, that's when you need to be surrounded by your people and surrounded by your people that know what you're going through, understand the lows and the highs of what we go through as creatives. And that's why I still go to Durango. I go to every festival I can possibly think of. I'm lucky enough to be a mentor now, but I go there for my own self kind of preservation as well, just to kind of hear new music, get to know new people. But networking is key to everything. Without an outlet, you can be playing your music to your grandparents and your parents and your significant others for the rest of your life. You need somewhere to play it to, and even if that's just kind ears to play it to somebody who's trusted ear that will say, I think you need to work a little harder on that chorus. It's not ready yet, and we all need those people to send music to that will give you an honest opinion, So that's the kind of journey of going from zero to being where I am now, which is still trying hard to create more opportunities all the time.
Awesome. Good
Can
story.
I say one more thing,
Sure.
Charles?
Sure.
This was something told to me at the expo, but I just feel like it's so important. At the Ascap Expo, that was a few years ago. But this woman on the stage, she was very successful and had done all these amazing things. And she said, you guys are all here to network and do all the things. She's like, but look around you in this room, because these are your peers. These are the people that you need to be with. Don't worry about everyone's trying to get to the top person. But she's like, just remember that everyone has a story and everyone has gone through a journey, even though it looks like, oh, they got there so fast. That's not the truth. And the people that you're around, you get to go on that journey together and be together. And so I always tell my mentees that when they're together in the room, hey, this is your people right here. You guys are going to grow together and you're going to help each other. And I think that that's the most important part about networking.
Yeah.
They're right next to you. Really
true. Really true. And Chaz, I don't want to leave you out. You have developed a network in LA, Portland, and Hawaii. So how have you done that?
Kind of going off of Nittany and what Kimie said, it's all about friendships. It's about relationship and community. And truthfully, to me, I've never seen good results chasing results. You could say that maybe we see a lot of that going wrong in the greater sphere of, the world we live in right now, that chasing results doesn't produce good results. But networking in the sense of relationship is great. All of the people that I get to work with now are people I've been meeting and building friendships with for years. I met Nittany at the festival just as well as Richard and Kimie and May and yourself, Charles. And I just always wanted to not ask you to, oh, please help me in my band, but teach me, tell me, what do I need to do better? How do I figure out, what you've been able to do on your journey? And I think going to the songwriting festivals, not just, ours, the HSF, but going to all of them, and you start to see the same people and you start to hang with the same people after hours. And I think it's all about the hang, whether or not you're into drinking or into partying, you don't have to do those things. Just be cool. Just be around for the hang, don't bug people for what you want or what you're trying to get out of it because you spent all that money to be there. I think it's all about building that relationship. And I'll say specifically to your point about Portland, yes, I've known Ryan for years going to the festival, but I never got in working with Marmoset until winter 2019 because I still was not ready for that journey to work, as a writer for Marmoset. And once I was ready and other people at his company recognized that, that's when it came about. My breakthrough moment, very honestly, with Ryan Wines was when we both realized we had a common interest in something outside of music, Japanese whiskey.
Yes,
and
right.
So if there's one thing I'll say, that's great for networking, forget we can geek out about the new Yeba, which Kimie turned me on to. But find something about that person. Ask them hey, how did you get into this? Well, what do you like to do for fun? What's a good place to eat? Find out more about them than, asking about please endorse me at NAMM. Everyone's trying to get endorsed at NAMM. But if you go and you're just can I come chill with you where you live? Can I come check out your office? Let's go. Can I buy you dinner? Just be chill, just be cool.
Cool. All right. Well, we've talked a lot about expos and festivals. I think, all of you have all gone to, you've all gone to Hawaii Songwriting Festival. You've all gone to the Ascap Expo. You've all gone to Durango. um, probably all gone to that Taxi Road rally. I know some of you have gone to Richard's camps, which are fairly new. So which one do you recommend? All of them, or are there any that we missed? Nita, why don't you take this one, because you're a championship networker.
Well, thank you. I have so much to say, but I'll try to be very short. I mean, I love all of them for different reasons. Okay, well, the Hawaii Songwriting Festival, it's amazing because you're on a beautiful island with beautiful people, and everybody's very chill because they're kind of on vacation. Sometimes they're bringing their families, and it's just really conducive to building friendships. And I've had some amazing times ever since the first Kauai Songwriting Festival on the beach. With 40 songwriters passing a guitar around and singing in the dunes. I mean, it's just been magical. So there's that, and then you can't really get that in any other festival. So that's one of the special things about the Hawaii Songwriting Festival. The other festivals, well, the Ascap Expo is a really big event where people come from all over the world, and that's one of my favorites because of that. I actually started doing some after parties at that event as one of my networking strategies. I started doing some after parties and charity showcases there. It's really a great place to meet people because it's right in the middle of Hollywood. It's a perfect location, and you've got people at all levels. So you have the opportunity to meet people that are hugely successful, multi-Grammy award-winning musicians and artists, and then people who are just starting out, very talented artists that are looking for mentors. And so it's just one of my favorites too. I got to tell you, I mean, there's so many, but I want to tell you that I do love Richard's camp, songwriter camps that he's doing with Pam Shane. I've done it twice now. Is it twice or three times?
3 times, I think, yeah.
And it's been amazing. I mean, it's just really perfect. It's, he brings in music supervisors and pairs up people, a producer, an artist, and a writer, similar to what we've done in Hawaii in the past. And we collaborate on projects, and it's just one of my favorite things. I'm sure Richard will tell you more about that, but it's definitely one you should check out if you haven't.
Thank you.
Yeah, Richard, it's I haven't done it yet, so I'm looking forward to that. But can you tell us? It looks like it's really different than anything else that's out there. So can you tell us why is it different, and what it is that makes it so different?
Well, I mean, look, I mean, there's so many of these things around. I mean, like, teaching seems to be the new thing that came along during COVID. Everybody became a teacher, I think, during COVID. And certainly in terms of my Instagram feed, it's just one teacher and mentor after another coming up. So, Songwriter Camps was born out of an idea with Pam and I when we sat down, was to kind of get to people before they got to Hawaii Songwriter Festival, Durango, to help people kind of get ready to go to those events. So when they're presenting their songs, they got everything ready to go. They'd done all the craft, and they'd learned a bit more about the writing side. So when they sat in front of a music supervisor, sat in front of an A&R guy, publisher, whatever, record company person, they were ready to go. Not just the packaging, all the songs are ready to go. So that's kind of why it started. And when we went into COVID, our in-person camp, which was all about collaboration, and actually Nittany came along as a mentor to that, and we had a great time down in Palm Springs at that camp. When we kind of couldn't do that, obviously, and we haven't been able to, like you guys haven't done for like a couple of years, we decided to build out an online camp, but with a focus on film and TV. And it was for unsigned writers, artists, and producers that, had got really good skills, but just didn't have an outlet. Or if they did, they wanted to increase their ability to connect with more music supervisors. And very similar to what you do at HSF and the Immersive, is we pair up a team of writers, artists, top liner, producer, with a music supervisor with an active brief that they're looking for at that time, and they write over the course of that day to that brief, and over the course of the following couple of weeks it all gets finished, and then we have a listening party 2 weeks later. So it's a lot of fun. We've had some real great success. Nittany got a fantastic placement out of it, and so yeah, it's fun. And I don't think it's particularly different. I think the energy is all. That's what's so wonderful about HSF. You and the Brotmans just bring this most amazing energy to that festival. And I'm hoping we do a similar sort of thing with songwriter camps. It's all about nurturing and caring and trying to give people opportunities, because when I first started out, there was just nothing. And it's just so wonderful to be able to connect people together, give them lots more opportunity to meet new people, and then obviously, if they can, land a sync out of it. And so far it's been working great. So that's kind of what we do at songwriter camps.
Awesome. And this would be a perfect time for you to give us the URL for the website.
Well, actually, somebody was very nicely put it into the edge. Thank you, Chaz.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, it's www.songwritercamps.com. We have a sync camp coming up in Feb, but that's pretty much sold out now. We just need we got a couple of places for producers, and that's it. But we do another one in June and then another one at the end of the year. And we've got other things coming along, but that's enough promoting. I don't want to promote, just here to promote the business and stuff like that. But thank you for that. It's all about caring and sharing and helping people find their passion and actually start to make some money at it as well, which would be very nice. And I do want to add on to this whole thing about networking. Don't forget to start setting goals as well. Start putting some flags in the ground, out 6 months, out a year, out 2 years, out 5 years. Start to think about what are the things you're aiming for. Don't make it just play at Shea Stadium in front of 500,000 people. That's a big goal, but the small goals, as you say, as you go along, really, really help.
Kimie, with your program, with Melee Songcraft, is that what it's called? Am I saying it correctly?
Yeah, Melecraft.
Melecraft, that's right. So how, who is it for, and how do people get involved with that?
Well, right now I'm just doing for younger, like 13 to 20 something ish. I keep changing it because I want to include other people, but the 20s, the 13s to the 20s. So like high school and college, and they go to the Haku website to find out about it, or yeah, they can find us on social media. We are going to have one thanks to Creative Lab before June, so looking forward to doing that, hopefully in person. Right. Ours are very artist mentor based, so we ask artists to come, and it's pro bono, so it's free for everyone. Our target audience is, of course, like rural areas and Native Hawaiians, because I want to make sure to touch on those areas that might not always have the means to come. But we've had many amazing artists come and mentor. I think for me, I have a different perspective on songwriting because I come as an artist first. I have done many songwriting collabs where it wasn't for me as an artist, but particularly for Melecraft, I'm looking at it from an artist perspective. And I think that in order to be a long-standing artist, you have to have quality songs. And so yeah. I think that that's a good place for up-and-coming artists to start with your songs.
Great.
I obviously just aged out of that one. Just
darn, you just missed it.
Just a couple of weeks.
Let's talk about professional organizations that people can join that have been created for composers, producers, what have you, that are they're networking organizations, but also there to provide education for professionals. So, how many of you are members of the Guild of Music Supervisors? Two, well, three.
Yeah, you can only be a friend of the Guild. You can't actually be an official member. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. And they have a lot of great webinars, and you can meet a lot of music supervisors. I mean, you don't meet them, but you see them on the webinar, so you can kind of get a feel for what kind of music they like, and get a feel for the industry that way. What about PMA, the Production Music Association? Anybody? Okay, me too.
Oh, I don't belong to that one. I need to go join, apparently.
Yeah, same thing. Lots of great stuff online. They do a convention every year. If you're interested in doing production music, once we get going back to live conferences, that's a great great place to actually bring your thumb drive or your CD, and you can meet the shakers and the movers and hand them your music and make
Nice.
deals that way. So what about Society of Composers and Lyricists? Three,
Yes,
four of us. Okay.
I'm actually on the Song Arts Committee for the Society of Composers and Lyricists.
Awesome.
And it's an amazing organization too, so I highly recommend it. Definitely.
Recording Academy, the Grammys. Yeah.
And
What
the
about
Recording Academy now has a songwriters and composers wing, just so you guys know. That's
Right.
about time.
Yeah, that just started, and that's going to be really interesting for networking and finding co-writers and all that kind of thing as well. What about SONA members, Songwriters of North America? Okay. NSAI.
Okay, I'll jump in here too.
Yeah, please do.
I have a chapter of NSAI in Malibu, but we're virtual right now. So basically, we have people from all around the world that come in to our monthly meetings, and we do songwriting workshops and bring in guests. And it's a great organization based in Nashville. It's not just country music; it's all genres. But it's for people that are just really love the craft of writing itself, and it's very much focused on that, developing the craft of writing.
This is Nashville Songwriters Association International. So for those that don't know, and then they have chapters all over the country, and you run the chapter there in Los Angeles, right? Is that right?
In Malibu. There's also a Los Angeles chapter.
Oh, there's another one. Okay. What about AIMP?
Mhm.
Okay, that's the Association of Independent Music Publishers. So am I missing some that you think would be good to recommend?
The California Copyright Council.
Okay, I don't know about that
Another
one.
good one. They do a lot of great events here in LA. Women in Music is another good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so these are all ways of expanding your network and meeting really creative people that are in the business doing it. So
can you just explain what the overall you guys are listing out all of these things for? Are these things that are interactive, so they have communities within them, or is it like once a year they have meetings, or is everything different? Like how do those things work?
Nita, you want to take that one?
Well, the AIMP, for example, would have before COVID, would have monthly meetings in Beverly Hills at a restaurant and have amazing panelists and great discussions. I mean, I can't recommend it highly enough. And I know one of our friends, Sophie Rose, I think, met her publisher at one of those events. So it's a really great place to go to meet publishers. And Michael Ames was the president when I first started going.
Right.
So it would be monthly meetings, and there was mostly panels and that sort of thing. And Society of Composers and Lyricists, we have events all the time. We have screenings of films where we bring in the director and the composers. I just recently went to one for Dune at a theater where Hans Zimmer and Denis Villeneuve were there talking about the creation of the film. So that's it's focused on music specifically for media. And then, we do listening panels. For example, we're having an SCL Sync panel next week that I'm moderating if you all want to jump in and join us. But
Right.
that's SCL and AIMP. Let's see, what else? Yeah, and then GMS, our Guild of Music Supervisors, has their conference once a year. They also have some other events that are screenings where they bring in composers and they talk about their work.
And lots of panels during the year too.
Yeah.
Yes.
GMS. Yeah. Good, great panels. All right. Let's sort of move on to some little bit more specific stuff. Most of the songwriters out there, I think that the people that are on that in our audience today, they're probably either doing their own production or they're songwriters who need producers. How many of you on the panel here consider yourself to be a producer? Okay, so let's talk about do you ever do producer work as a producer work for hire? Do you ever do that kind of work? Is it always co-writing or co-producing, or where you own a piece of the master or own a piece of the music, or do you do sometimes just somebody pays you and you produce the record?
All of the above.
All of the above. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, it really does depend on what the you're being approached as. I mean, there's instances where I've helped co-write songs that then I've been paid to produce, and because somebody wants to own the master outright, and there are times when people haven't got the budget, and so we do a deal on master share. And so yeah, there's all sorts of ways around it, and it's Chaz, as I know, does a lot of this as well. It's all on a time basis and how much time is available. We love the project, feel that we're the right producer for the gig, because sometimes you can find somebody who'll say yes, and they have absolutely no skill, not the right skills to do the job that they're trying to do. So, I always say caution and a bit of warning. If you're going to find a producer, find somebody that does what you're looking to get done, because everybody's different and everybody's good at different things.
Yeah. How do people normally find you guys? Is it through this networking that we're talking about? Is that through industry events or word of mouth from somebody else? Is that usually how it works?
Definitely. Yeah. I don't want to jump in because I'm sure Chaz's got lots to say, but yeah, all of the above, really. Tons. I mean, from meeting people at the Hawaii Songwriters Festival, Durango, and then word of mouth, people saying that they heard the song that I produced and they just wanted to get me to come in and work with them. So yeah.
Now I know that that production fees are going to vary, like from almost nothing or sometimes nothing up to $80,000, $100,000 a track.
Yeah.
But in your world, in Honolulu, say for example, Chaz, like what do I'm not asking necessarily for your own fees, but other people that are doing what you're doing, like what kind of fees are you seeing here in Hawaii for that kind of, let's say a production of one song, let's say one song.
Yeah. So like just specifying, like when we say production, like I think you're referring to like everything. I think that's like the market in Hawaii. Like if you're a producer, like a recording engineer with a studio, the way you survive is you do everything from recording to producing, like all the editing, mixing, maybe even the mastering too, right, for the artist. And so I used to do a lot of that, especially when I moved home. I do like almost none of that now, which is intentional. I don't advertise, but the fees that I've seen are anywhere from like $200 upwards of $3,000, depending like what level of quality you're looking for. Yeah. I
think it goes up definitely higher than that.
Yeah.
I mean, per song, I've definitely know people that have paid 20 grand. So it can go from 200, which is a steal, guys. You better get that deal.
Yeah. Well, it might not be. It depends on on how that thing turns out.
If you like just tambourine backing, that'd be fine.
And Richard, for you and your colleagues in Los Angeles, what kind of fees are you seeing over there?
Well, I'm not saying anything at 200. That's for sure. And yeah, it goes. It starts it depends really, and it also depends if you're working in a big ass studio that's got to pay an engineer and there's overheads and you need musicians to come in, they got to be paid, you know what I mean? There's so many variables in that. If it's a producer where the producer's doing, as Chaz says, doing everything, playing everything, programming, cutting vocals, editing vocals, mixing, blah blah blah. Yeah, I think you'll be lucky to find anything under $2,000, and then it goes from there, and it will just go from that sensible money to absolutely mental money. And of course, it comes, obviously credits make a big difference as well. You know what I mean? If you're going to somebody that's got some level of expertise and has got credits that show you that they can do the gig, I mean, that's still not going to guarantee anything at the end of the day. There is so many variables. I think it's a very difficult thing to get right. I think artists tend to hand over a little bit too much to producers and should spend a lot of time figuring out what it is they're trying to achieve, what they're trying to, their records should sound like, and kind of be very constructive and a part of the whole process. That doesn't mean coming in and sitting over, looking over somebody's shoulder while they're playing things, but certainly delivering lots of examples of what they want to hear, what they want it to sound like, rather than just say, you know, because you can go and demo a song anywhere, you know, and that's what you'll get. You'll get a demo. But if you want something that's produced and has something to say as a production as well as what the song is saying, then you've got to do a little bit of homework and do a lot of the pre-production up front, so that you don't run into problems where you know, you're paying your money, you go, holy crap, this is nothing like I wanted it to be. This is somebody else's vision. This is not my vision. And you got to
I have to jump in because that has happened to me, and I have wasted so much money. And this is gig money, so I'd be working a gig, pay it straight to the producer, and he's an amazing producer, but it's not anything that I actually wanted. So I think that's the best advice ever, Richard, is do a lot of your homework. If you can, get GarageBand, whatever, and do as much as you can. Work out all the kinks before you pay someone. If you can't, you know, if you don't have the money, figure it out yourself first and save yourself a lot of money.
Yeah.
Well, on that note about the money, can you guys talk about? Can you address any kind of deals that you've done where there might be a song that you really believe in, the artist really doesn't have the money to do it, but you believe in the song and you want to reduce your price in exchange for part of the master or all of the master? And can you talk about those kinds of deals?
Yes. Shall I? Okay.
Sure, Richard. Why don't you jump
I don't
in?
want. I hate silence. So yeah, I've done tons of those deals, and not tons. I've done a lot, and it really is. It's on a. There's some artists that I would, you know, I think it. And it's not necessarily about where they're at in their career. It's about their vision, and it's about their wherewithal and their, you know, passion and all those things. Because there's absolutely, you know, a 50% of a master that's doing absolutely nothing means nothing at the end of the day. You need to know that that artist is going to go out there and work it, do all their homework, go out and push it as hard as they possibly can, have some connections, putting, you know, boots on the ground and working their artist thing as hard as they possibly can through socials, through going to events and networking and all those things. And you know, I've worked with artists that don't even have a lot of that going on, but show potential and have, you know, something to say through their songwriting and have amazing, you know, voices or a style of voice that I really, really like. So I think it's on a client by client basis, but I've been very fortunate to work with some amazing writers and amazing artists, and where I was able to offer a 50% deal on that, just because I wanted to be part of it as much as anything else.
Sure. And Chaz, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think with like, even when there were like record deals, right, or if you're in a deal right now, right, it's a scale of risk. So if the other party, say the producer, like whoever's bankrolling you, a label or publisher, manager, if they are taking on more risk, then they're going to ask for more points on whatever, you know, the project is, whether it's your publishing or the master. You know, I don't want to argue the ethics of, you know, what is acceptable or not. I think it's situational. Yeah, especially if you're not a work for hire.
Yeah. Let's see. Sync stuff. Let's move on to sync stuff. What is the price range that you guys are seeing right now for TV syncs? Just in general, like say maybe in the last 12 months. Anybody want to take that?
Sure. I'll go. No, Nittany, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, it varies a lot, but I think kind of like average is about $750 per side for a TV sync. Although the sync that I had from Richard's camp was a lot better, paid a lot more than that. So it varies a lot. I would say, I guess, for TV, it probably is very different than some film projects. And a lot of indie film projects, there's not a lot of budget, so maybe it's if you're lucky, a few $100s, maybe $500. But for TV, I've seen it go as high as over $7,500 for a sync placement. But I think it's typically less than that.
Yeah.
Richard
Yeah.
probably knows a lot better about it than I do. So.
Well, no, not at all. I mean, God, you've had so many syncs. It is. It's kind of. It's. I've seen sort of horrible sync fees, and you have to kind of measure that with opportunity and things to talk about. You know what I mean? I think we get wrapped up in this whole thing. Oh, it's not what the value. Well, is the value just the money, or is it you being able to talk about it the next time you're in front of a music supervisor? I just had something licensed in such and such a show. They never ask you how much you got paid. Trust me, ever. They probably know how much you got paid, but it's activity, and activity draws interest. Bees around the honey pot. If you cover yourself in honey, bees are going to come. And which is kind of weird, but it's like that in terms of credits and activity. People start to get drawn to people that have somehow performed somewhere along the way, and if you're having activity, people will start to listen to your catalog. So in the early days, I wouldn't be too fussy. I don't go crazy and give it away for free, but I also think there are certain things where, and I had a music supervisor come to me recently with it was a production that was out of the country, and the fees weren't great, but I was more than willing to I actually didn't actually have anything for the show, but I would have said yes to it because I love the music supervisor, and I saw the show as a great opportunity. So there are a number of things you need to weigh up when you say yes or no. But there are great sync fees. I mean, as Nittany said, they can go up to 7,500. I've seen them go to 12 grand, 15,000, depending on how well known the artist is, how much activity they've got, and how important the scene is, obviously, at that point, because the music can be a big feature. And obviously the budget of the show itself. Sometimes they've spent all the money and music's like, oh crap, we need to put music in the show. So we've got $3. Anybody want to take, take that? So, there's a lot of things to add to that. But the money can be great. And sometimes you get one thing that could pay your rent for a couple of months. So, these things can be really change your life. And of course, if you go into promos, trailers, and ads, it can be significantly higher.
Yeah,
I wanted to add, because Haku is also doing a lot of licensing things now, and I've been working with a company in the mainland for a bunch of big shows. There's a bunch of shows here now, right, in Hawaii, and these are the guys that help to find all the music. And he told me that the average is 3 to 5. That's what the asking price is, 3 to 5K for the TV syncs that they're doing for these big shows. But I know people that have gotten more, so I'm just saying that's probably on the low end of what they can offer. But that's what they're telling us, 3 to 5. And
then these are the upfront fees for syncing the music to the film, but then there's also the back end royalties. Yes. Yep. And that's the big mystery for all of us, trying to determine how much that's going to be. And it's crazy looking at your statement, trying to figure all that stuff out. It can be thousands or it can be pennies. Do you guys, anybody have any crazy examples they want to share?
I've had somebody cut a check for me for 34 cents.
That's a good one.
I know it costs a lot more to print that check.
Yeah, right. Processing fees. Oh Lord.
How about unexpectedly an unexpected one that was way up?
Well, expectation levels can be very high, Charles, as you well know. It's I think it's a very interesting time. I think on the record side, I think it's streaming royalties from Spotify, Apple, and the likes, Pandora, can be are dreadful. And the parity between master and what the record companies are making from streaming and what publishers and writers are making is absolutely criminal. And that's why companies like, organizations like Sona have been just amazing in terms of advocating on behalf of songwriters. And we're in a big fight right now, that's about to come up. And, unfortunately, we don't have as much money as Google, Apple, Spotify, and the like have in terms of being able to hustle on in the capital. But, things can change. I know I read an article today about the head of Cobalt, and she was saying that this is one of the biggest fights they've got on their plate right now is fighting for songwriters and fighting for parity between masters and publishing. So that can be difficult. But what it does suggest, by the way, is if you're an artist, own your masters. Own your masters. You may not always be able to, but if you can, that's where you're going to make your money. I'm sure Kimie can attest to that as an artist, putting out music all the time. It's that's where I'm sure she makes most of her money in terms of residuals, I would imagine.
Yes, and I mean, I was there in those legislative offices fighting for advocating for these laws and things. But yeah, at the current moment, it's like you get the most return on master ownership every time it's played on Spotify and all that all goes to the master owner. So I have done some deals where I've done the master split and all the things, but I almost rather wait an extra year till I can afford it and then pay for all my stuff so that I can own everything. You know what I mean? Sometimes we're in a rush as artists to just, I just want to get it out. But no one knows it exists until it's out. So you're good. Don't worry. Don't rush yourself.
Right.
Put yourself in a position. Fiji, he's an amazing artist here in Hawaii, but he told me that the music business has nothing to do with music and everything to do with rights. And I was 19 when he told me that. And so almost everything I've ever put out, I've owned. And I did that because he told me that. And Charles was right there showing me what is a song split, and Charles is on the phone teaching me things. So I think the master ownership is really, really important. And I've paid as much as $5,000 a track. That's not including mixing and mastering, guys. I'm just saying, the gamut. I've paid as much as nothing and just did trades. So you can work it out with people and do work for hires. You can pay a lot. I've paid more. You can pay less. But you find something that works for you, and the return is there. There is a return on it, and it's a legacy. So you'll have it forever, for many, many years. Your kids will get it when you're done.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was just kind of scanning the questions in the chat, and it looks like people have been answering the questions pretty nicely. There was a question that came in about NFTs. Does anybody? I'm not really hip to the whole thing about NFTs in music. So does anybody want to take that one? What about the NFT scene for artists?
Does anybody know what it means? Non-fungible token. Yeah. I personally, and this is an opinion, Chaz, I'm sure you can jump in. I think this is probably one of the most exciting things to come for musicians and artists. I think it's going to be a very quick burn right now, and there's been some ridiculous numbers being thrown around and NFT art and everything else. It is about ownership, and it's about the beauty of NFTs for songwriters. And really, honestly, it's too big a subject to kind of talk about in a couple of seconds. Do some research, go find out about it. Is that you maintain ownership of part of that copyright. If you sell something on, like if you made a CD and you sell it, you see one piece of income and then it goes away. That person with NFTs, they could then trade it on. You get a kickback from that NFT. So they get 20% goes back to the artist each time it gets sold on. So it's it really is a wonderful way to continue maintaining ownership. and feeding the creators that created it in the first place. That's kind of the over the view of what NFTs can be. There's been some incredible things done, and then there's things people have paid stupid money for it and have lost a lot of money. It's going to be, but I think the technology, when they get it right and they figure out all the collection situation, because right now you can collect all the money because it's all, through blockchain, but the actual rights part of it is super complicated because there is nothing yet to deal with it. So it's going to be something that the publishers and the master owners are going to have to figure out. There's going to have to be some sort of collection agency that figures that all out. But it's definitely one of the most exciting things to come along in quite some time, I think, in terms of maintaining ownership on something that's being sold on and on and on and on and on. There was a quick question that Gaia said, and she said $5,000 to own your own music. Are you kidding me? Well, you're not owning your own music. You're owning that version of the recorded version of your music. It's not your publishing. This is the master side. This is the actual recorded version of it, not your song, just that version of your song.
There's another one that came up in the chat that says, what are some goals you might suggest for people who are trying to get started to navigate the songwriting business? I'll take a stab at that one. I think the best thing is write great music. And then all of these little business things, you'll have to figure them out one after another as they come through. We can talk about where the different royalties come from. And it's great to kind of have a sense of where you need to register songs and that kind of thing. You need to know that stuff. But once the check starts coming in, then you kind of go, oh yeah, now I get it. That's how it works. So I think write great music and everything else will sort of take care of itself. I don't know if anybody has anything else they want to add to that one.
I think you're right. We've been speaking about like owning masters, but I think that's for like an artist perspective, and I'm sure there's a lot of people who like aren't artists that are producing their own music. So they're like mostly like songwriters, like kind of like what I've been focusing on this past year. I think just write a lot of music, like if you're going to have a short-term, long-term goal, write a lot of music, long-term goal, write even more music.
Yeah.
Because like I own a small portion of the music I did with my band. And, like for that 5 years period of time, like that's like 50 records. And I would say that the majority of the royalties I would see from the time I've left the band is from live performance registrations. And so every time they perform live, they register that music, those set lists with their PRO. And then I see my cut of the publishing from those performances that I'm not there, participating in. But the music that I've written, now that it dwarfs that catalog of 50, I see more of a return from the music just from like creating more and more music. I don't think we should expect the 10 songs we make every year and a half that we record to fund the rest of our lives. It's unless someone's backing you like with like 250 grand, launching you to be the next trap hip hop artist, all over the radio. It's who knows if that's going to put your kids through college. Someone said to me at a songwriting conference that our music, our songs that we write, that is the value of, like, that's the currency of our industry. It's songs. So just write a lot of songs. If you can't afford to own all of those masters, then write a lot of songs so that you have money coming in, so you can then own the masters for the music that is personal to you. If you're going to record your pet project, that is like your grand masterpiece, your pet sounds, then yeah, take the money you've made from these 500 songs that you've written with other people, and then, spend the 30 grand to make that opus masterpiece of yours.
Yeah, I think that for all of us, that we're the success, I think for all of us, even though we're all of us are at different places in our careers, I think that really the definition of success for all of us is pretty similar, that we get to keep on doing this. I mean, that's, if you can have enough money coming in so that you can just keep on doing it, you're good. You're good. Well, I think we're running out of time here, so we're going to kind of wrap it up. But I have one last question that I'd like to have each of the panelists answer, and that is, if you had one piece of advice when you were first getting started, think something that you know now that you didn't know back then, what would it be? So let's maybe just jump around, and Malin, what do you think?
I think one piece of advice, I guess, just know that it's worth it. You know, like sometimes you invest into yourself. So like invest into yourself, believe in yourself. And, if this is the path for you, then just keep on doing it. Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Maybe I needed more time to think, but yeah, just believe in yourself, and if you truly feel in your soul that this is what you're supposed to be doing, then just do it.
Yeah, great. Nita, how about you?
Trying to think of my answer. There's so many things to say, but I think basically it's just like some of you talked about earlier, is just write a lot. Write as much as you can, and don't worry about writing a song that sucks, because sometimes those turn out being the best songs. So just write as much as you can and really enjoy it. And I think one thing that I've learned kind of the hard way is to stay focused on the parts that you really love. And don't let yourself get distracted or overwhelmed with the other things. Like sometimes there are business concerns that kind of distract you from your art. So try to find, I know it's probably hard to completely avoid that, but try to find a balance so that you can always stay true to the art that you fell in love with in the first place.
Yeah.
Great advice. Great advice. Chaz, how about you?
I would tell the younger me to lower your threshold of comfort in order to make others feel comfortable. It wasn't until I was forced to play on the street for money with the guys that I realized, wow, like I could have done this years ago. And, instead of all those junk sound tech gigs I was doing, I think I'm so focused on like what I need in order to do my job, but you shouldn't have a long list of things in order to do your job. Like if your job is to write songs, you wake up in the morning and you write songs. I just pick up my son in the morning, I give him a hug, I look him in the face, and then that's all the motivation I need and a cup of coffee to just sit at my desk and get to work.
Awesome. Richard, how about you?
Oh, wow. There's quite a few, I think, really. I think I love what Chaz is saying. I think you've got to learn to be brave and don't say no to anything unless it's really putting yourself in harm's way. Say yes to as many things as you possibly can, and be prepared to do this for the long haul. We get into this because we're passionate, we love music, that's what draws us there in the first place. We have a story to tell, and I think don't set your target too high. Of course, set it there, but just do it because you love it, and be prepared for it to take some time. And do not compare yourself to other people. Don't look at Instagram and think, oh, why are they getting the licenses and I'm not? Why are they doing this? It doesn't work that way. It comes to you when it's time. And as you can see from my hair, it took a little while for it to get to me. And I think, tenacity is almost 75% of this gig. You do your best work and you keep going. And the more you keep going, it's amazing. You get luckier as you go along. So just never, 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 ever stop. And don't let anybody tell you to stop, because this is what you love to do. If you make money at it, bonus. That's the way it is. It's I couldn't not do music. If I got stopped being paid to do what I do, I would still be in this studio doing what I do every day. In fact, most of the time I'm doing it for free anyway, because nobody sends me a check every day going, hey, nice, well done for being in the studio. Here's $500. Doesn't happen. So, you know, just be prepared for that and do it because you're passionate. So I don't know if that's any use to anybody, but that's
Great,
kind of what I
great
look.
advice. Great advice. And Kimie, how about you?
Gosh, a lot of what everyone said, honestly, really, truly, I was like, yes, I needed to hear this. It's really good. I think, I chased around who I was, like trying to identify who I was as an artist for so long. But like Richard said, it was like, but even when I quit, I was like, I hate this. I'm not doing this. I still did it in my underwear, like in the closet, it's just like, I can't stop what I'm doing. And I think, when you know that this is what you're supposed to do. So do not question yourself. Every day you look in the mirror, you are beautiful and perfect, just as you are, imperfect. And you have no one else to compare yourself to. It's just you. And so you can look at yourself and be like, okay, what am I doing today? Like, what do I have to say? And everyone's story is so different and unique. And Charles, you said something to me 10 years ago, and I still say it to all my mentees, and it still means so much to me, because to me, it was really like holding on to the thread of who I am. And of course, we change as songwriters and as artists, and we should always be growing, because if we're not growing, we're dying, just so you know. So let's keep growing. But you told me, because so many people are looking to the masses, they're trying to cast this wide net, I just want to reach hundreds and thousands of millions of people and whatever it is. But Charles told me this. He's like, yeah, this is when I was discovering that songwriting was a thing. And he said, well, we have this band, go, we tour, and yeah, we write songs and all this stuff. He says, you don't need like a lot of people. You just need like 1,000 diehard fans and you're set for life. You're good for the rest of your life. And that really kind of taught me how to narrow in and stop trying to cast this wide net and really understand my story, understand my voice. Who am I? What am I trying to say? And when you just really own that shit 100,000,000%, then everything else, the universe will rise up to meet you where you are and you'll be set. You don't know what that looks like. I'm just saying, because I thought I knew, but I didn't know, and I still don't know. But when you know yourself and you allow your true voice and that beautiful being inside of you to collaborate and to write and to sing, or whatever it is that you do, to play that ukulele, then you can really just be you, and everything else will fall into place. Like, I cannot say that more. And Charles, you gave me that bit of advice that I still carry with me. So that would be my thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, gosh, I think we're going to wrap it up, but thank you all so much. Thanks so much to our panelists. This was really great, really enlightening. I want to also thank Creative Industries for supporting Hawaii Songwriting Festival and the Creative Lab. We have one more webinar in this series, and that's going to be on January 18th. And that one is going to be in conjunction with the Guild of Music Supervisors. And so we have some rock star music supervisors that are going to be on that panel. It'll be really interesting, talking about what is music supervision, what do they do, how do they find music, and we should be able to get some tips about that part of the business. So so that's it for today. Thank you all so much. Thanks to all the participants for signing up and attending the webinar. And with that, we'll say aloha.
And thank you, Charles. Fabulous job, mate.
Thank you.
Mahalo.
Charles.
Aloha.
Good seeing you guys.
You too, guys. So good to see you. Bye.